Meeting, and I'm calling it to order at 7:04 p.m. Roll call looks all here. I would like a motion to adopt the agenda, which is merely going to be at this part of this meeting, the election of officers.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, with a show of hands, please, or by acclamation, the agenda is adopted. So we're going to start off with the election of officers. Normally, do you want to say something, Andrew?
Yeah, before we move into the election of officers, I kind of sent out an email beforehand to the whole board, letting them know we basically have two choices on how we want to vote. So I'm going to make a motion before you start with that to follow Robert's rules method of a viva voce, I think, is voting method, which is essentially raising hands method. Looking for a second.
I'll second it.
So
Who seconded?
The discussion on
Justin.
it, my take is I kind of gave you guys both the processes on how those two voting methods work. I told you I was going to bring forward the raising hands method. I think it's the most transparent. The community can see everything that we're doing. And so that's basically my main reason for it, and just wanting to make sure that everyone understands the process related to it with the nominations, and then when we do the voting. So, Linda will call for nominations. We will start, and then any director at that point can make nominations. They don't need to be seconded. And then once all nominations are made, Linda will repeat those nominations for us, and then we'll vote on them in order. And so if you don't want to vote for the first person that was nominated, you do need to vote no on that person in order to vote yes on a subsequent person. And basically, the first person that's elected by a majority of the votes is elected, and the balloting or election is over for that office, essentially. Does everyone kind of understand that?
Yes.
Yes.
Call the question and vote then to do the voting that way by raising of hands. It looks like I have a unanimous vote there. Okay, with no further ado, I will like to open the floor to nomination for president of the board. Joshua?
I nominate Andrew Tischleder for president.
Do I have any other nominations for president? Going once, going twice. Seeing that there are no other candidates, by acclamation, since there is no vote, since there's only one candidate, Andrew Tischleder is president. Do you have to, Andrew, that's the thing I wanted to ask you. Normally, when there has been no other candidate, it's just by acclamation.
Yeah.
All right, just checking and making sure of your rules of the road here. The next officer that I have for nomination is for vice president. Can I have a nomination? Steffi?
I nominate Joshua Bowens.
Do I have any other nominations for vice president? Seeing no other nominations for vice president, by acclamation, Josh Bowens is the new vice president. Treasurer is the next officer up. Can I have nominations for the treasurer position, please? Andrew.
I nominate Kim Harris.
Do I have any other nominations for treasurer or treasurer? I'm not seeing anybody else. So by acclamation, since there's only one nominee, Kim Harris is your new board treasurer. The last election of officers we have is the board secretary. Nominations, please.
I nominate Steffi Jones.
Oh, just a minute. Steffi Jones. Do I have any other nominations? Seeing no other nominations, by acclamation, Steffi Jones is your new secretary. So you have your officers for the 2021 year. You have President AJ Tischleiter. You have Vice President Josh Bowens. You have Treasurer Kim Harris, and you have Secretary Steffi Jones. Congratulations, everybody. And as far as I'm concerned, this meeting, I'd like to call for adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion. Second.
And if by acclamation, can we adjourn this portion of the meeting and you can move into your next session? You all agree? By acclamation, you can move into your second session, and your board president will lead you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks, Linda.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you,
Thank
Linda.
you.
Thanks, Linda.
So we will call to order this special board of the directors meeting at 7:11 p.m. Roll call is everyone's here, and we have Joe, Rachel, Norm, and John with us from staff.
That's it.
Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Seconded.
All those in favor? All right, so agenda's been adopted. We'll move into announcements. I do have one announcement. Myself, Rich Bailey emailed us earlier this afternoon, and he tendered his resignation as the chair of ACC and from the ACC committee. He cited personal reasons, and so we will be having to fill his vacancy, and the committee will need to work towards getting a new chair. Does anyone else have any announcements?
So AJ, do you want the, then in other words, you want the board to go into the 30-day posting of the opening today, which would put you at 12/9 to be open for 30 days for an ACC vacancy.
I'm assuming that, yeah, the ACC committee would probably want to post that opening. And yeah, maybe even try and fill it when they try to fill the rest of their committee. I don't know if they can do that yet or not until they get a chair.
Yeah, it's real hard because Rich was the chair. And we can wait. I believe their next, if we do, we wait until 11/19 is their next meeting. So you would be delayed by roughly 10 days if you want to wait until then. And then bring it forward when you have your next board meeting.
I think we could post it, and if the committee chooses that they want to just nominate everyone all at once, they could decide on that 10 days or whatever differential in time.
Okay. Because
Let
at
them-
least it starts the clock ticking now. Because I
Yeah.
can have that posted tomorrow morning, which will mean that it goes in then on 11/10, which will probably take you to 12/10/2020. And then we'll have to look where your meetings are going to be for November and December. as to
Yeah,
when
and
you can-
While you're at it, you could post the finance committee positions as well for Kim.
So do you know if it's all but yourself and the set, I don't know who your second board member is going to be. So beyond that, you're looking for the rest of the committee.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think every year we have to re-put out the ad.
I
And yeah,
will,
we have to pick the finance committee second person tonight.
you could, it's just something that's not part of you electing officers.
Yeah,
That's all. Okay, I will get that taken care of.
all right, so any other announcements? Moving into selection of the committee stuff. So we have two types of committees, essentially. We have standing committees that are in our bylaws, and that is the Finance Committee, the Document Review Committee, the Long Range Planning Committee. I think that's all of them. And then we also have 3 ad hoc committees that the board typically recognizes and reestablishes every year. Those ad hoc committees technically disband at the end of every assembly session that creates them, and that assembly would have been last year's board. So effective the AGM, all of those ad hoc committees technically disappear. And so what we need to do with the selection of the committee chairpersons is to, for the committees in the bylaws, we can just use kind of the same nomination voting process that we just used for selecting officers. For the selection of the committees for like ad hoc committees, you know, I would suggest that we can just select a chair tonight. It would be that chair's responsibility then to kind of, and we can also solicit who would want to, you know, participate in those ad hoc committees as well. And with the chair would be kind of responsible for putting together the charter and bringing that back to the board at either the November or December meeting to reestablish those committees. And that's, I don't know if anyone has any objections to that process. And so basically what I would do and at this point is we can just start going through each of the committees, and I guess I would say we just start with the standing committees first and go from there. And so the first committee, Finance Committee, would be Kim as the treasurer would be the chair of that committee. And so then we would be looking for nominations for the second board member to participate on that committee.
Nominate AJ
Brian.
Tischler.
Okay,
I nominate you, President, Mr. President.
any other nominations? All right, well, similar to last time, that would just be done through acclamation essentially. So the next committee would be the Document Review Committee. We'll need to nominate one chair, and then we can nominate a second board member that will participate in that committee as well. Josh?
I nominate Justin Bauer.
Do we have any other nominations? All right, so by acclamation, Justin Bauer will be our chair of document review. So I'd be looking for nominations for the second board position on the document review committee.
Nominate Joel Dobbins.
Any other nominations? All right, so by acclamation, we have Joel Dobbins as the second board member on Document Review Committee. The last standing committee then would be the Long Range Planning Committee. Looking for nominations for the chair. Kim?
I nominate Brian Cope.
Any other nominations?
I nominate AJ Tischlitter. I can't do that.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
We have any other nominations? So we have two nominations for the chair of Long Range Planning Committee. We will vote first on Brian Cope as he was the first nominee, and then if he's not elected, we'll vote for me. So all those in favor of Brian, say aye.
Raise hands, AJ, so you can see easier for whoever's keeping track here.
What?
So we got, okay, I think we got a majority of the vote for Brian Cope as the chair of Long Range Planning. Nominations for the second board member on Long Range Planning.
I nominate Andrew Tischlitter.
Any other nominations? So by acclamation, I'll be the second board member on Long Range Planning.
I have a question.
All right. Sorry,
Andrew?
Andrew?
I just have a question. Are you okay with that, AJ?
Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on to our ad hoc committees. You know, basically what I would look for here, the ad hoc committees really, we can write the charters, as many people could participate as they want. The committees on the bylaws do have some membership requirements and number requirements we have to meet and adhere to. And so what I'd be looking for here is a nomination for the chair of these three committees. And then, you know, once we nominate the chair, if any board member then at that point could speak up if they would also like to participate on the committee, and we can have them join as well. And so to start, we have the Communications Committee. I would take nominations for the chair of the Communications Committee.
I nominate Joshua Bowens.
Okay. Any other nominations?
I accept your nomination, Joel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh.
Means a
So
lot.
no other nominations. So Josh will participate on the chair of the Communications Committee. Are any other board members looking and wanting to participate with Josh on the Communications Committee? So we got Justin and Joel both raising their hands. All right, so our next committee would then be Emergency Preparedness Committee. And so I would be looking for nominations to chair the Emergency Preparedness Committee. Josh?
I nominate Paula. I think that would be perfect for her since she's already on it, but that's going to be her call.
No, I was going to ask if I could continue to be involved in it regardless, so I accept that nomination.
All right, excellent. Do we have any other nominations? Joshua?
Well, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm
Any
messing
other
up the program
nominations?
here.
All right, so Paula will be the chair of the Emergency Preparedness Committee. Do we have any other board members who would like to participate? We do technically, I think state law requires us to have 2 board directors on all committees. So we do have to have a second person, I believe, minimum. We can have more on the ad hoc committees though.
I'd like to be on it.
Josh, you'd like to be on it? Okay.
Yep. If Paula would accept me.
Absolutely. I look forward to continuing to work with you on a committee.
Thank you.
He wears that hat if that changes your mind.
I'm just wearing it because I'm cold.
I'm kidding.
All right, and I think the last committee we have is the Parks, Trails, and Recreation Committee. Do I have a nomination for the chair of that committee? Paula?
I'd like to nominate Andrew Entrikin for that.
All right, do we have any other nominations? All right, so by acclamation, Andrew will be the chair of our Parks, Trails, and Rec Committee. Do we have anyone else who would like to participate in that committee?
I'd like to participate. I wanted to last year, so I'd be interested in this year.
Okay, anyone else? Paula, you raise your hand.
I'd like to if there's space for all of us, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the most giant committee that we have, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
all right, and so I don't think we have any more committees, just double checking, I'm not missing anything. All right, so moving on, we have a couple near-term things that we need to kind of take care of, as mostly just scheduling stuff. So the first thing will be setting a date for board orientation. I think, Joe, you said in your email today that you guys are mostly ready to go on that. We just got to find time to schedule with all the other players that are involved.
Yeah, Borks and I have been working on this now about 3 weeks. So we have our
Okay.
stuff ready to roll. Just waiting for the board to change over and get me a date, and I will notify all the parties involved who are external, and we'll go from there.
So I think typically we've done this on a weekend. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe. Is about like 4 hours or 5
Yes.
hours?
It's generally a Saturday morning from 10 to 2. Again, that was historical. This is we can do it anytime it works for everybody here. So, I mean, again, just historically, it was 10 to 2. It's all the board, it's all the committee members. So I know last year, AJ, you had voiced your concern about having it in the middle of December around the holidays. I do agree with you on that. Weekends in that time of year, it's a little bit more about family and getting stuff done for the holidays. So, but you guys just tell me when you want it. I'll get the outside parties involved and we go from there.
Okay, well, so we have about a 4-hour meeting. People's thoughts on preferring a weekend day or we'd be talking about a fairly late evening if we're going that route.
I think we need to stick with the weekend. I mean, I could do a night, but I wouldn't want to put everyone else through that misery.
A January night
agree.
sounds fabulous.
A January night?
I mean, I'm sorry, a January weekend.
Yes. And I know that we typically don't do it on Sunday, but we booked some ski weekends for the just for on Sundays. So
I have no problem if everybody wants to try to do a Saturday in January. I am good with that. I just need let me get my calendar here.
Just another thing to consider on when we do it too would be, I think, we'll probably we'll do it next to schedule a meeting for November and a meeting for December. We will have 2 meetings in January. So,
Right.
I don't know how
So you're going to have
I-
3 meetings in January.
3 meetings.
Well, if you have an orientation, normally
Yeah.
that's the only thing that is. And then you have if you decide to do a work session, that second week in January and then the fourth week in January. That's 3
Right.
meetings in January.
I got January right in front of me right now. We definitely do not want to do it the second. I don't, that's the first Saturday of the month. I don't think anybody's going to be around for that. Again, you're into family stuff. So you got the 9th. The first board meeting would be the 14th. The second one would be the 28th. So you can do 9 or 23,
When's the Super Bowl?
not until February.
That's like February, I think.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah, no,
checking.
yeah, I think it's February.
First
Clearly,
weekend.
you're not a
February.
football fan,
Yeah, it's a
Jeffy.
first.
I am, but I'm like, wait.
That will be the week of February 6th and 7th.
But
Okay.
there might be a change.
Yeah, it could be in March.
No,
Okay,
you may not get your traditional week of hype.
Okay, that's fine. But no, I mean, board meetings would be the 14th and 28th. So I don't know. I don't think you guys want to go the 14th and 16th. So I would do it on one of the off weeks. So either 9 or 23.
Joe, off the top of your head, when is college?
Top
Usually
of-
over, they'll probably end that weekend, to be honest. I think
Yeah.
the big bowl games are the first, and then the like playoff is like,
The playoffs is during the
After.
week.
In January.
Yeah, the playoff game is always a Monday or Tuesday night.
Second,
They don't do it on the
second
weekend.
Monday in January.
Yeah,
You
so that
guys
would be
are all on the
11th.
board. Sports do not exist anymore. I'm sorry.
There's a curling championship.
Yeah, curling's great. I
Tuesday.
love watching that.
That's Tuesday.
I would be down for January.
When do the
9.
Olympics start? No, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
I
go
like
with the
really-
9th if that's okay with everyone.
9th?
Yeah, I like
Okay.
the 9th.
Yeah, you probably don't want to go too long before you have an orientation.
Does
and
the
things
9th
that-
work for everybody then?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I will get that out to our outside agencies, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
It's more than enough time for them to schedule their stuff.
Joe, who will be delivering the subs to our homes?
The subs? Oh, what do you want?
His
I'm
lunch.
just kidding.
No, what do you want? We'll get you
Jimmy
something.
John's.
Jimmy John's will do it.
We'll get
The seasoned
Uber Eats.
cookies
We'll
were
get you
good,
stuff.
too.
All right, let's move on. Sorry. It's been a long day.
Tell me that. Can't do it.
Okay, so we got board orientation set. So then we have, typically we try to hold just one meeting in each November, December because of the holidays. I threw just some dates in the agenda here as like kind of a starting point, trying to keep them far enough away from those holiday weeks so we're not interrupting anyone's potential, road trip plans or anything like that. I don't know how much people are moving around these days, but and so yeah, November 19th was the week before Thanksgiving. Linda, we also need to certify the election results, and so what is the time frame that your committee is going to need for that? Because that'll factor into our November meeting date probably.
Well, I can truly say with great, how do I say it? I would be almost ready if my committee, tomorrow night they certify. After that, I can present to the board at any time. I've got all my reports ready. I've got Unilex, which is really cool. They're the way they do the reports from their computer. It's so much cleaner than all the little handwritten tally sheets. And it's the amount of information that's in them is much more than we ever used to get from us being able to count our own ballots. So it's simply going to be when you can accept it. Normally, as a rule, the entity manual says I have to have it to you in 10 days. If you meet on the 19th, that's as long as I'm doing it the next meeting that you're available to, be able to have the report submitted to you. That's when it is.
Okay. I guess my vote would be for the 19th. Then we're not trying to push staff to turn around a meeting here real quick and put together everything. Gives us a little bit more leeway to get all that done, and gives us maybe a little more time to look at the certification as well, since we have 4 new board members this year. So I think that might be handy. Maybe if you think your committee will be done with that here this week, Linda, maybe you could get that sent to the board just to look at before the meeting. Give us a little bit of extra time.
Oh, happy. It's just, it's very clean. We matched in numbers exactly, almost fell off a chair. Usually I'm off by 1 or 2. We had to invalidate one ballot that was a mail-in ballot. We had a new owner, and Gil was here, and we talked it all out, and the new owner voted in person, and we talked it out with Gil. And so there was just the one. We still matched exactly for how many ballots we had here. I've done something just a little different this year with the spreadsheet, and I've broken it out into the mailed ballots that went to Unilect, and then the ballots that were in the drop box, because they definitely were 2 very different sets of things. We used to get everything here, and I wanted to separate them so that it shows total, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Unilect report does the same thing.
Okay. Well, does the 19th work for everyone's schedules for November?
Do we have anything else pending? What about the financials? I don't know if you're gonna have finance during November, but normally in a monthly meeting, we have financials. Sorry, Kim.
Yeah,
I'll get right on it.
I think, Joe, do you know where we're at on that with Joel?
We can have financials for you on the 19th.
Okay. All right. And so December date, I had thrown the 10th on there because that was kind of the first week of December. And so we were the furthest away from Christmas week, was my thought process with that. And so I don't know where everyone stands on that date, but we could do it the 17th as well if we wanted to, and still avoid Christmas week.
The 10th is my birthday. You would all have to sing happy birthday and send me a cupcake if we did it on the 10th.
Well, are you going to be going out to dinner on your birthday?
Well, I think my husband's out of town, so maybe not. You luck out this time. So I'm okay with either the 10th or the 17th.
Okay. Anyone else have any thoughts or concerns?
I'm not going anywhere, so I'm fine with whatever.
Is anybody going anywhere? I shouldn't say that. My son's in Florida.
We were going to, but then everything started to get worse. So we bailed on that idea pretty quickly. President Trump, when the president got COVID, we were like, oh, maybe it's not a good idea for just us to be going anywhere.
Our state is in the red now and climbing. We're not at our state in Oregon.
One of the things I wanted to say is, with your orientation in January, are we going to tentatively plan on Zoom meetings? I'm beginning to be a big fan.
Oh,
I think we have to.
I'm going to chime in on this one. I think we go with Zoom meetings until we are okay and safe to meet in person again, and that might be a while.
Yep.
I just think it's a prudent thing to do with us, and I just, that's my opinion. I think we go as long as we can.
Can we check?
agree.
Can we check? I think when Andrew was president, we voted to go to the end of the year.
Correct.
And maybe we need to,
That
before
would
the
be-
end of the year in December, make a resolution to continue the Zoom meetings.
Linda, I would make it the 19th. Let's make it the
Yeah.
19th. That'll be one of the first orders of business is to continue this. And I would verbiage it until at least end of April. That gives it 5 months. And then we can always look at it at that point.
Gotcha.
You
It
might even
was
wanna
one of those
consider
things.
Putting it with the governor's proclamation. I mean, until he lifts it, I don't think that we should probably even consider it because he's pretty much said don't have in-person meetings. So if we matched it to the governor's guidance on in-person meetings, then we would probably be safe at least until April.
We have to,
Norm
yeah,
might
we have to
some
have an end
insight
date.
into this.
Yeah, we have to have an end date. So that's why I said the end of April.
Yep.
And we can always look at it at that point.
So
Perfect.
I
Norm
don't
has-
have, yeah, I don't have an end date for you. I wish I did, but the health department spoke on this today. Currently, the county's plan for the vaccination for the vaccine has been released to go to the governor to be state to be approved. That vaccine, as we know from Pfizer's news release today, is getting a lot of press that it's going to be something right around what you guys are talking about, March, April, that time frame, and then it'll be released in phases for at-risk populations, people that are involved in the emergency services aspect, first responders. So I think you're on track with a April, March deadline for your remote meetings, and it may end up going longer depending on when the vaccine is widely released for distribution. So watch that news story is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's 2 shots, 28 days apart from what I heard too.
That is one. I'm not sure if the Pfizer one's that or not. I know the Russian one was, but it may be. And if it is, then that'll play a factor into when some of this stuff starts to lift. That'll be when you can see the transition to phase 4. We hope.
They're not going to skip over 3 though, are they? Or
3
maybe
will-
they will if the vaccine comes out.
The governor's always said the vaccine is the predication to moving ahead. And based on what Kim said today with the R0 numbers climbing the way it is, 3 is looking like it's getting further away at this point. State of Oregon has locked down several counties. For example, they're called in a hiatus stage, on things. So, and King County said today they're falling backwards. So it's something to be aware of.
Okay.
Did we
Well-
finalize December's date?
What was that?
Did we finalize December's date?
No, I don't think so. It didn't sound like anyone had any concerns with the 10th other than Kim's birthday. Maybe we could be considerate of Kim's birthday and just do it on the 17th. Does that sound reasonable to everybody?
Sounds nice.
Yeah, we don't want to. We don't want to have a meeting on her birthday.
Nah.
Thanks,
I agree.
everybody.
Will Joel
That's
have
not a
something
fun
then?
birthday present.
If you do it on the 17th, will Joel be able to have the financials? It won't be year end, I know that. And I don't know
Yeah,
if once we get closer, he's going to try and do a projection for the board,
we'll have a projection by then. That won't be that hard.
because you could have whatever month we're going to be at in December and
Well,
maybe then a year end projection.
Year-end projection is not a problem for the
Okay.
17th meeting. Not a problem.
All right. Do we need a motion to set those dates or?
Oh, you really should. And then everybody's voted on it and it's
Okay,
legit.
for all of the dates?
Just those November, December dates, I guess.
Okay. So I make a motion to have our November board meeting on 11/19 and a December board meeting on 12/17.
We have a second.
Second.
So we have a motion to hold the November meeting on the 19th and the December meeting on the 17th. Any discussion further? All right, all those in favor?
It's unanimous.
It passes unanimously. And so then the last thing is just to set our regularly scheduled board meetings for the 2021 year. Joe?
Don't you want to make a motion on the orientation as well?
Yeah, I was gonna make that separately. That's a good idea.
I guess we
I make a
probably should.
motion to, I move to have our board orientation on Saturday, January 9th at 10 a.m.
Second.
Not to exceed 4 hours.
Hey, do we have to confirm with other parties on that first?
We can still
Yeah.
we can make that motion. We can always modify it.
Got to change it.
Okay.
I'm sure that's enough time unless they got some vacation pre-planned or something.
Well, let's rewind what I said and pretend I didn't say it.
All right, did we have a second? Kim seconding, all right. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Oh,
All right, looks unanimous. So then the last thing is just setting the meeting dates for the 2021 year, which would be January through October dates. And then
I'm working on it now for you, AJ.
and
dates.
then the what?
I'm working on the dates for you right now.
Okay. Basically, we typically have board meetings on a Thursday, usually the second and fourth Thursday of the month. Thursdays, in my opinion, are a pretty good day. They give us lots of time to make sure we hit our mandated agenda posting timeframes and stuff like that. As someone whose long-range planning committee met on Tuesday, I can assure you it's a pain in the butt to have everything ready earlier. So I think that would be most beneficial, and that's pretty much the schedule our staff is used to as well. So do we have any objections to that schedule?
I'm sorry,
So
what schedule did you say? I missed what you
it
said.
would be the second and fourth Thursday of every month from January through October. And then the AGM happens in the beginning of November, and they do this whole thing that we're doing now all over again. And so, yeah, and that would be starting at our usual 7 p.m. Yeah, so I don't know if anyone has any concerns or questions regarding that. Andrew?
I know a little bit ago we had talked about maybe doing a workshop style for the first meeting, and then the third, and then the next meeting would be the actual board meeting. I don't know. I'm totally fine with doing the two meetings. I just wonder if we want to reduce it to one board meeting a month.
Yeah, I think, that's definitely something I've thought about before. I think it would be handy. I know boards in the past have done it, and we may meet a little bit longer one Thursday, but then we can just roll through voting on the following Thursday, and that meeting will be shorter. I do have a number of items that I would like to kind of bring up procedural here regarding kind of timeframes of when agendas get posted and things like that. And so maybe that's a topic we can address through a policy here, and we can discuss it at our upcoming meetings on kind of how we want to handle that. I've already written up a policy that I was trying to get it ready for this meeting. I just did not have enough time with everything else. So I'm going to send it to everyone and Joe and staff. It's going to affect all of us, but the main thing of the policy would be to just give everybody a little bit more time to review agenda packets. We have a board filled with people who work full time as well, I think right now. And so it is difficult within 2 days time frame to research and make decisions to spend hundreds of thousands of our neighbors' dollars sometimes. So I would kind of like to try to work with staff and the board on developing a policy to kind of push those agenda timeframes out a bit longer so we get more review time. And I think if we were going to do that kind of work session style thing, like you said, Andrew, we'd have to factor that into that process as well. But I think we could still schedule our meetings. They're going to be the second and fourth Thursday, regardless of how we kind of format or structure those moving forward.
That needs to be an agenda item if we're going to move on to that, doesn't it? Or
yeah, I'm not putting that on this agenda. I'm just kind of giving the board a heads up that's something that I would like to pursue, and it kind of piggybacks on what Andrew just suggested.
Right.
Question about for Andrew about what does that look like when you say one meeting is a working meeting and what is the difference?
I forgot who, it wasn't my idea by any means. I think Joe had mentioned a workshop style. Maybe you could elaborate on, you could articulate better than I. If I can hand it over to Joe. Sorry.
What I've seen and have been involved with, Kim, and other associations and other things, where you would have 2 board meetings a month. What you would have in this case would be the first Thursday of every month. That would be where you went over all of the stuff that you would be wanting to vote on for the following board meeting. So that would be where you have all your discussion and all the information, and you hash it all out at that point. So when you come to your board meeting, the actual end of the month with all your financials and everything, you would be voting on the stuff that you did 2 weeks ago and discussed it. So we'd already have all the information out there. We'd already know all the stuff, and it gives everybody, like AJ's saying, a lot more time to review stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not just us either. It gives us time to ask. Well, so basically the first meeting would be largely discussion. No, we wouldn't make a bunch of motions and vote on things, and it would just be our debate essentially. It's very similar how the county council handles a lot of things. They introduce things at one meeting, have a public hearing at that meeting to receive the public's input, which would be our community members. That gives us time to actually hear and digest our community members' input before we vote on it. Allows us to then go back to staff, ask some additional questions if we need to, in those 2 weeks between the meetings. And then, we meet at that voting meeting, and we can just, all the discussions had, unless a bunch of stuff comes up, over the course of those 2 weeks, we'd largely be able to roll through a meeting, very quickly. And so we'd kind of have like one longer meeting and one shorter meeting.
It's just, I've always seen, like AJ said, it was, kind of what county council does. It looks a lot cleaner, and it gives everybody a lot more time to digest everything instead of looking at it, throwing it on the floor, throwing a vote out. Unless you had, 5, 8, 10 days to look at something, you're making a lot of decisions very quickly sometimes with a lot of questions that you still never got answered. So the workshop would be, we hash everything out. If there's follow-up that needs to be done, it gets out to the board, and then that just helps you make your decisions easier.
I would be in favor of that, because it gives staff a chance to go back on something and if need be. And thanks for bringing it up, Andrew. I wasn't even thinking about that, but I think it's, now is not the perfect time for anything, but I think it would be a good time to kind of get into doing something like this.
Linda has a question, and I have an idea what it's on.
It's not a question so much. It's when we used to do them as work sessions. Like Joe, you had the little Boy Scout, the couple of scouts that wanted to do projects. That's when they could come and make a presentation to the board, or you could bring that stuff forward and the board can talk to them, ask them questions, that sort of thing. But some people, we used to allow them like maybe a 10-minute block to talk about something or present something that they wanted the board to consider that maybe we haven't even thought of.
Right. It's just such a cleaner way to conduct business.
Well, also it gives the community time.
Mm-hmm. It's just such a great way and a clean way to do business.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds wise. I like it.
It'll also make it so we don't have to necessarily have, staff cycling at every meeting. The voting meeting, largely, we wouldn't need to have as many, of the managers and stuff who are presenting potentially capital requests or those types of things. That stuff can largely happen at a work session meeting, and then we just have our usual staff kind of attending the board meetings, and we don't have any of our other ancillary staff members.
Well,
because
even this year we had, for instance, just Brian recently with the car, same night, same thing, no real big time to look at it. When we looked at the marina stuff earlier this year, a lot of people had questions, and work sessions are a perfect time for everybody to be able to get their questions answered and staff to participate once, and hopefully once is enough.
We'll have
All
a
right,
little
well,
work sesh.
I think it sounds like everyone's in favor of this. I will work with Joe on coming up with some sort of policy that's going to work for everybody involved, staff and the board included. And so, yeah.
My one question would be, how are our bylaws written and TCRs? So we're not required to have two. We're just required to have one. Linda, I'm going to ask you that one.
What
Board meeting?
for
For
meetings?
board meetings, we're only required one per our.
I don't think so, because we've done two in the past.
Right,
We
but
did one
how
for
is
a
it?
long time.
But how are they written? Is my question.
Are you saying like minimum number we can have in the course of a year?
Well,
Yeah.
no. Are we bound to two a month, or are we bound to one a month?
I don't
I
think
think
we're
you're bound
to
to
a
so
month.
many a year.
Okay,
don't think we could
then
be-
we're good. Then we're good.
Yeah, we've canceled ones with if there's not enough business in the past, so I don't think we could be bound to.
But the problem is that was already a scheduled meeting. You can always cancel a scheduled meeting.
But these are board meetings.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought
Yeah.
you were pausing.
No, there's board meetings. You're right. I don't want to start something that we can't do is what
How
I.
Right.
about we double check it, and then when we
Yeah.
add this to the agenda, we'll make sure that we're in the.
Yeah.
I'll go through with Joe and make sure we're good, and then we'll bring something to the board here at the November meeting, or we'll even try to get it to you maybe beforehand so we can have some time to review a policy like that. So, I think we do
Just
need
a
a
minute, stop
motion.
everybody. I've got my bylaws. Regular meetings of the board shall be held at the principal office of the association or other such suitable place at a time as shall be determined by a majority of the directors. At least 4 such meetings shall be held during each fiscal year. If such meetings are scheduled by the board on a routine basis, notice of the prearranged schedule shall be given and no further notice need be given. Alternately, at least 48 hours prior to each meeting, the secretary shall cause to be given to each board member notice of the meeting and shall cause to be provided public notice, including the agenda, by posting the same pursuant to section 6.3.
So we're good.
Okay. So I think unless there's any concern over going with the second and fourth Thursday of each month, I think we need a motion to schedule those as our regularly scheduled board meetings.
You want the dates, AJ? Or do you just?
Do we need the dates, or can we just say the second?
I think we could probably get away saying the second and fourth Thursday of every month from January through October.
And that'll
I
get
think
filled in as the, you know, as the staff fills in the meeting page for everybody.
And then I think we also set the annual meeting. That looks to be like the 6th of November.
It's the
6th
first
of
Saturday,
November.
right?
First Saturday is the 6th.
Okay, well, let's start with a motion. I move that the 2021 Board of Directors meeting schedule be scheduled for the second and fourth Thursdays of the month, January through October.
Second.
Who was that?
Josh is seconded. We have a motion to schedule our regularly scheduled board meetings the second and fourth Thursday of the months January through October. Do we have any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Looks unanimous. And then I guess we didn't technically have the AGM scheduling on the agenda. So do we need to just do that at the next meeting then, or is
I don't
that
even know
technically
that-
a
I think-
regularly scheduled board
I think
meeting?
Go ahead.
I think it's already, it's written that it is always the first Saturday of November.
Do we even
correct?
have to
In the
schedule
bylaws,
it?
yep.
So it's
No,
fine,
I was just
that's
putting,
good.
I was just putting it out there for the date in case of, you know.
Okay. All right, well, that is all we have for setting our board meeting dates. I think the next thing on the agenda would be moving into property owner comments. So I think we got John here to help us with that.
Hey, everybody. So yeah, property owners' comments. We do have a few attendees in the audience tonight. So if you would like to step up to the mic, so to speak, just hit the raise hand feature in Zoom and I'll bring you over. We do have a hand raised here from LC. If you could give your name and address when I bring you in.
Yeah, this is Leslie McRoberts. I got some committee questions here. And Linda, you can probably answer the first one. Do we have enough ACC members to hold meetings? Do we have a quorum yet?
As of Rich's resignation, we don't have a quorum. They still can, if I'm reading the bylaws correctly, they still can elect a chair amongst the members of the committee. There are 4 of them. And then they won't have a quorum until we post this notice and wait the 30 days into December. Thank goodness we're in the cold months where not too much is going on for them. It would be awful if it were May.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, second is AJ, will you be approving committee members on the first November meeting? Since you have chairs now, I mean, do you expect them to bring your committee members to you, to the board for voting?
The committee members will have to eventually get approved by the board. I believe we're going to need to establish the ad hoc committees with the charter first for those. And then for our standing committees, we would need to, we'll need to advertise, as we asked Linda to do, for finance committee and ACC Linda, I think you're going to need to advertise for another N&E too, correct? And actually, I'll need you to advertise for, or Brian will need you to advertise for long range planning committee as well. We'll have
You'll
a
have
couple.
to tell me how many people you've got, because I know you had a lot on, and I think you had terms for different members that are part of your group.
Yeah,
So you're
I
gonna have
will.
to determine how
I'll
many.
get that to you here tonight.
Okay. Sounds like I need to put out a mass. Lauren's gonna be busy.
Linda, if you need help, let me know.
And we can start
Lauren's really good
advertising
and
for
she
all
really
the
likes
committees,
doing it,
really
Josh.
start collecting applications.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we should I think it should just be a big blanketed search right now for people for committees.
Yeah, typically, people have brought their committee charters and some committee members, at the first meeting, but that's whoever you want to move forward with that. And then the last one is the bylaws are not completely clear on what constitutes an executive committee. It gives you a range. It says that you can have 4 or 5 members, that you have to have 3 of them are officers. And, and so I think that's one of the things that we have also voted on in the past is what does this board desire as far as an executive committee is concerned? Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Leslie. I'll go ahead and return you to the audience unless you had any other further comments. All right. Thank you. I'm not sure if there's a response to the last.
I don't really have a response to that. I guess the board just elected the officers, so that's what the board decided.
I can read you what the bylaws say unless Paula can answer.
I was just gonna say what I believe that we did the last 2 years was after the officers were elected, then the board voted that the officers were the made up the executive committee. I believe that that's the way that it happened the last 2 years. So while the officers are standing, an executive committee is not, at least that's what we did the last 2 years. The executive committee was not defined, and so they defined it by a vote of the board.
And Linda, what were you gonna say?
All I was gonna do is the section 5 of the bylaws kind of spells it out. Like Leslie says, there's a little bit of it there's a little bit of ambiguity there, but it's like it says the executive committee shall be composed of not less than 3 officers of the association and not more than 4 voting board members, provided that the total number is not less than 4. The executive committee shall have supervision of the affairs of the association in any special situation where 48 hours notice cannot be given for a special board meeting and thus for its own meetings. The executive committee may meet in closed session to prepare for a closed session of the board and may perform other such duties as specified by the board. Actions taken by the executive committee shall be presented to the board at the next available board meeting for the board's consideration and ratification. Executive committee actions authorizing expenditures or incurring association legal obligations, if taken in emergency situations, cannot be denied or repudiated by the board, although they may be grounds for removal from the executive committee. Amen. So it's like, I think it's the point of, you've selected your officers. It's just it would be during the meeting now to make the officers that you elected at your earlier meeting the official 2021 board executive committee, right?
That's what was done in the past.
So what my next question was going to be, is it too late to make a motion to do the exact same thing that they did last year?
Do we have to make a motion to do that? As I understand, the RCWs state that the the executive committee is made up of those 4 positions. And so,
Well, the state law does trump our bylaws. So even if our bylaws are ambiguous, then
because the way I kind of read the bylaws is it does say exactly what needs to be there. It just, by saying that not less than 3 officers of the association, that's in the bylaw also allows 1 person to be elected to multiple positions, except for they can't be both the president and secretary. So the way I read the bylaws, it basically just, it's accounting for that. You could have 3 officers if someone was, say, the vice president and the treasurer or something like that. And then you would have a president and a secretary.
Many times it's the secretary treasurer that's the combined, you see in a lot of organizations, that's the combined executive or officer position. But there's enough of us, we really don't need to do that.
Appears that Leslie's hand is raised again. She may have another further comment here.
Okay, sounds good. I would just add to that, it does say in the bylaws that the executive committee shall be composed of the officers, and we did elect the officers.
Mhm.
And shall is a mandatory statement. Go ahead, Leslie.
I just wanted to mention, and Linda will remember this, back in the early 2000s, we did have executive committees that were made up of 5 people. We would have the 4 officers and then a member at large. So, I mean, you do have a lot of options there.
And I think what happened is I think why we got away from that, a little of it was political, and I won't go into that part of it. But if you've got 5 execs, you have a quorum of the board, and that's dangerous. That's just my opinion. But if you've got 5 execs, you've got a quorum of the board.
I think the bylaws must have been different back there, because it says not more than 4 voting board members. Or are you saying you guys added non-voting board members to the executive committee?
No, there were actually 5 board members. One was, the 4 officers plus 1 at large, because I remember Roger Bull used to be the at large. And if you're saying you're concerned, I'm not specifying, I don't want you to do 5, but I'm just telling you about what we did back then, because you had just giving you a lot of options. And the executive committee has authority to act in the absence of, in emergencies, in the absence of getting the board together. And therefore, whether there are 4 or 5 of them, they have authority to make decisions.
That can be dangerous.
So I just want to make sure that you're doing, that you know that you have a choice, and that you make whatever choice you want.
Okay.
Leslie, I'll try to go back and look at some old governing documents. I've got a bunch of paper stuff at home, and I'll see if I can find where that was different before like 2005, and see if I can find that stuff and maybe bring it forward and let the board take a look at it.
If you're not going to do it, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I think we have a solid group of executives as is.
Yes.
All right. Thank you again, Leslie. Anyone else for property owners' comments tonight? I'm not seeing any at this time, Mr. President.
So AJ, I have one last question for you about these meetings. The N&E committee has already met. We still would like to try meeting our last Mondays of the month at 6:30. And I wonder when you're going to set the rest of these, or are everybody not going to have regular scheduled meetings? Finance usually does.
Can you repeat that? Sorry, you kind of broke up a bit on my end.
It's okay. So when the N&E committee met, we kind of agreed that we could stick with our last Monday of the month at 6:30, that would still be good for us. And I'm saying with the rest of these committees, are they going to have regular schedules, or that's up to whoever's on them? And if they, I don't know. I think there's requirements for all committees without looking at the bylaws. I don't know what it is. But I know before they had everything set for their meetings per month.
I think it's the same as the board where they have to have like minimum of 4, but I'd have to double check that to be certain.
So you're just
I
going to leave
guess
it open
to some
for now.
extent, the committee would have to kind of figure those things out too
Okay.
a bit. Like the schedule's got to work for their members and everything.
Yep.
I know I got long range planning going a little bit later this last year, and so I kind of got the day that was left, because everyone else had scheduled meetings already and a lot of other days. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think it's largely to some extent will be a little bit first come, first serve, and then somewhat dependent upon our Zoom capabilities with if we can stack meetings or whatever.
Okay. So just submit something.
John's like, no, thank you. Yeah, I mean,
He had
ideally
enough
we wouldn't
on
do that, 'cause then
Saturday.
the
He never
community
wants to
can't
have
watch
another
either.
Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
Who should we submit our final decision on for if I want to go ahead and say, hey, my regular meetings will be the last Monday of every month. We'll cancel if we don't need to have a meeting.
Joe, is that Oryx putting that together?
Yeah, Oryx would be the one putting the schedules together. So if there's any schedule changes, I would just send it to her, CC myself.
All right, that works. Or just confirm that I want to stay with what I am, and then she's got confirmation from me one way or the other.
I would imagine a lot of the committees will probably choose to stay on a similar schedule, but you never know with new people coming in.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I just wondered how you were going to handle that. That was my only question.
All right, any other property owner comments?
It does not appear that way.
All right. Do we have a motion? Oh, Norm's got something.
Just for the new elected board members, I will have your cards updated for your access into the spaces that you're authorized to be in done tomorrow before noon. So you don't have to get a new card printed up. You all have amenity access cards anyway. I will add it to that and you'll be set and ready to go.
Is there a way to find out what spaces we're authorized to go into?
Yes, I can give you that rundown, but essentially it's the administration office and all the buildings such as the recreation center and the county.
And that's connected to our current
Yes.
community cards.
I will apply that to your amenity access card so you don't have to get a new one.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Norm.
All right.
Awesome.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I wanted to say welcome to the new board members. Woohoo! And then I will say I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Steffi.
Thank you,
for both.
Steffi.
Thank you, Steffi.
Thank you. And thank you, staff and N&E and Unilec for all their hard work with the AGM. It was great.
Yeah.
I want to do it again next year already.
One real quick thing. I do need the executives to stay on for about 2 seconds. Real quick.
Bye, everybody.
John, can
All right,
you,
have a good night.
can we stop?
Bye.
This is just some stuff we have to go over.